Do you have any good tips or tools for budgeting? That's one area that we struggle with coming up with a budget and how to make it function for us.
Can you get a little more specific when you say tips or tools with budgeting? Are you referring to you guys actually sitting down and make it actually stick, or are you referring to actually putting together the actual budgeting process?
Putting together an actual budget, because that's actually something we've not done.
Okay.
But that's an area we would like some help or direction in.
Sure. So I have a system that I use in my own finances and that I teach. I believe in doing a monthly budget. Do May's budget before May gets there. So you and your spouse will sit down someplace relatively quiet if possible. I know that's not always practical, but relatively quiet. And you would talk out your budget. So, but you're talking it out before the month begins. I prefer the monthly budget because I feel weekly is like slavery. I can't do a budget every week if it feels like I'm in bondage. I don't like it that much. I don't like to project it out too much further than a month in detail because I can't see that far out in detail. I can see May very well. I know what's coming up in May for the most part. June, I can see June pretty well, but it's still a little sketchy. July, that's vague to me. So I can have a template set up, but not in detail. So I like a monthly budget right before the month begins, usually 2 to 3 days before the month begins. That way you're walking it out. Now, the second component is we set up what's called a top-down budget, which means that we prioritize our spending top to bottom. So when we set up our budget, the most important things are at the top and the least important things are at the bottom. So when we start doing our budget, we start at the top and we work through all the things of most importance, and then we get down to the bottom, and if we have any money left, then we can do some things that are the least importance and or moving some financial goals forward. So top-down budget, most important to the least important. What we put at the top in our household is tithing, after-tax investing, preventive savings, food for our household, housing, which is mortgage and utilities and all that good stuff. The next thing we do is transportation. Then we do personal care items like medical. And then we work down through the other discretionary items in our budgeting process. What I find that most people do is when they set up a budget, typically what we do is we budget things that send us bills, but groceries do not send us bills. We create bills with those. So you got to make sure that you're putting life actually in your budget. We budget for, my daughter had to register for fall semester of cheerleading. So we have to budget the $200 registration for that. And if we want to put that in there and we end up where our budget doesn't balance, then we have to make some adjustments somewhere. So something has to change to make that fit. Another big tip is you put in miscellaneous in your budget because you can't plan everything. Now, the miscellaneous is at the bottom. One of the last things you put in there, but you actually fund miscellaneous because you literally cannot plan everything. It's not possible. Literally plan for what you can't plan for. So plan for miscellaneous. Another tip, and this is household to household, if you're really tight, then this is not practical for you. If things are okay, then you got to have it with a level of discretion, but sometimes you can do this. You put in some fund money into the budget. So fund money could be distributed into a couple of different ways. I typically prefer that fund money to be cash, and that way it goes into the wife's purse, the husband's wallet, and that's personal fund money. Even though you're budgeting out groceries, budgeting out entertainment, you're budgeting out going to the movies, you're budgeting out dining out, you're budgeting all these things, then on top of all that budgeting, you throw in there some fund money. And what that is just literally, it's not trackable money per se. You got to have a level of integrity with it, but you put that into your pocket just so that person can feel as if they have a little bit of freedom in their finances. If you got a heavy spender in the household and the other one's a saver, so you throw that in the budgeting for the spender part, and it does not have to be fair. The spender might have more in that fund money category than the saver. It does not have to be equal. So the short and skinny tips: put a monthly budget before the month begins. You build a top-down budget. Your highest priority at the top, lowest priority at the bottom. Once you hit all your basic everyday expenses, you should have something you're trying to achieve, some type of goal, where it's paying off a debt or reaching a savings goal or something you're trying to do with your money. So you need to have also some goals that you're striving for. This is actually kind of an overlaying principle. If you have no goals that you're trying to achieve, then your budget is really just a piece of paper or a spreadsheet. If you have goals attached to your budget, then your budget is a tool to help you reach your goals. Now, the secondary purpose of a budget for a couple is a communication tool, because it allows you to get on the same page. But one of the major purposes for everyone is for you to achieve some goals. So you have to have some written, agreed-upon goals. Make that budgeting process actually effective. It's not going to stick if you don't have something that you're aiming for.
Do you have any good tips or tools